So here I am on the frame. Decided to put it on a frame machine. It's always best if you can do that if you're going to be putting in your front and rear suspension. That way you know exactly everything is squared. But what I had found out was this section of frame is slightly bent up compared to the other side. So I'm going to bend this down. And in order to do that, of course, I have to put it on something that can hold it. Now, so what I'm going to do in the process of setting this all up on the frame. So what I did this morning was took this frame machine and leveled it because I know my concrete's pitched. So I leveled it both side to side, front, back, and the long way. So you don't have to do that as long as you can measure from everything because your frame machine's straight. But I wanted it level, so when I put a level on the frame, everything's level. It just makes it easier for me. So I did that, and now is what I'm doing is I'm making the plates. I bolted the plates on, and in these stands, I will be welding those in position after I center the frame on the frame machine. And how I can do that is there is a center line that runs the whole length of the frame machine. I'll plumb bob it from the center of that hole, which is supposed to be the center of the frame, down, and there's another hole down at the other end, and I'll do that too, because this crossbar here and the back crossbar are tight. The ones in the middle aren't necessarily tight, so there might be just a little flex, but I'm going to square it to here, all the way down. And then I will then weld the standoffs on to the plates, and then I'm going to take a plate and come to from the side of this up on here. I'll probably just tack it. Another spot I'll probably run a bolt in it. I prefer to run a bolt in it if I can, but I wanted it spaced a little more, so this is where I'm going to just kind of tack it on. No big deal. Then I'm going to come to the back and figure out what size, how high I'm supposed to go here. Now, the frame should be level. The top of this frame should be level with the middle of the frame all the way. But this part of the frame is smaller this way than this frame. So I can't make the standoffs the same size. I have to make these got to be a different size. So anyway, that's where I'm at. I've kind of got the frame slung on my hoist, holding it up until I can kind of ease it down onto these standoffs where they really need to be when I get it centered. And I'll probably get my wife out and help me out with this so we can get it right where it's supposed to be. I'm trying to get this frame set up on this jig. So this frame seems to be a little more out of whack than you think, I believe. So the frame looks good, and I do know that this side is higher by no more than a 1/4 inch, but it's higher. That's why I kind of started this whole deal. And I believe that side down there then is lower. So I think the whole frame is like this on this side. So this side I thought was fine. And so I centered it up with the hole, this hole down to my center line on the frame. And I did the same back there. So then that's where the frame is sitting right now. I pulled a string to that center hole, all the way to that center hole. I wanted to know where it was at. My fear was that this has been shifted, the front end's been shifted one way or the other. So I started measuring along the line and back, across and across and across. And right where my level is, that's still centered. I start coming up here and I'm about a 1/4 inch off. I adjusted that. I should say I adjusted that string to be centered all through here. All through this whole back area is centered. And that puts the string off that center hole. So it's all centered there, but then when I start coming up here, it's not. So that's telling me that this whole thing is shifted and it needs to be pushed this way. And then the frame probably needs to be squeezed because it's a little too wide at these 2 points right here by a 1/4 inch. Needs to be pulled in. So I'm gonna try to figure out how to push just the front end over, leaving all that alone. Try to get it straight that way, centered up. And then I'm gonna re-look at all my midways. See, I'm measuring from the mounts to the mounts. I have all those measurements, mounts to the mounts and stuff like that. And this one right here was farther apart, where some of these other ones might be a little closer to each other, but this one was farther apart, which tells me that the frame's probably bent one side or the other. Well, I measured it out and I believe it's this side here, needs to be pulled in. But the whole thing needs to go over this way first. Then I can start fiddling with all that. So when I get this centered, then I can anchor these down and then pull and push and tweak and whatever else I gotta do. But first things first, pull that down, pull that over, and then go. It's the only way I can think about doing it. I mean, the frame looks good. It doesn't look like it has any damage at all. I just think from all the years of use, it maybe took a little bang here and there. I don't know. But when I had the cab on, this right here, this nub was really close to the outside of the rocker panel. I know there's a shield, a skirting that goes around that and down, but it was odd that this was so far out. As you can see, I kind of hogged it this way to get the bolt to fit right. And I know my bolt is on a frame instead of where it was originally, but so it's telling me that something isn't quite right. I was going to actually have to cut this down to make me feel comfortable about where the skirting was going to go. So that was another little bitty red flag. It goes on and on with a lot of little things here. So the back holes, these holes back here, are all fine. These holes here, these here. I did hog these ones out just a little bit because of I used a stud instead of a bolt. I needed to get a little sway room. Otherwise, I mean, these holes are good. That hole's good. I just had to hog this and this one out, and then that one, and then this one out. So that's telling me it's just it's off. And the way I had to hog this one out, you can see I had to kind of come this way with it, which tells me that frame needs to be moved in because it's too close now. And I couldn't go any further out on the bolt because I'm right into the body. So this is wrong. And so now I get to come up with the big struggle of straightening it out. I'll get her done though. Continuing on the frame, as you can see, I've got some levels set up still. I do not have that pad and standoffs welded, nor do I have the other one, because I knew this whole front section needed to be moved. So what I did do is I did weld these back ones on, and I'll kind of walk around there so you can see what I'm talking about. I just welded these standoffs on, and I put a good weld in one spot there. And then I came back here, I leveled all this out here. I had to pull this up a little bit. This was a little different than that. I had to pull this up, and what that did was actually pulled the front down a little bit. And I got it so I used the bottle jack and I jacked it up way past level, and then I let it come back down. And then I put a level across here this way to make sure that was being level with that. They're the same now. And I did the same with across this area here, making sure that that stayed level, because it was a little off and now it's right. And now, since I have this back half kind of welded on, I did cross measure it, and I measured it to this hole right here on both sides, and it's right on the money. I think it's 78 inches. From that corner to the edge of this hole right there is 78 inches. I believe that's the measurement. So then I wanted to start moving this frame rail down, which I did do, but it might have been a little premature, because what I had to do is I had to move this whole thing over to the right, to the driver or the passenger side. So I kind of got I don't have a lot of great pulling tools like hooks in the floor and, you know, the standoffs and all that stuff I don't have to work with. So I had to kind of make up my own little thing with my Porta-Power here. And I also have a bottle jack here too that I've been using. I just went and got a cheap little bottle jack. And believe it or not, all this works. This here isn't pulling exactly the way I want it, but it is pulling it this way. It's also pulling it up a little bit. I don't think it's pulling it up very much, but because I got to still pull this down. I did it in the beginning and then I moved it. It looks like it might have moved up. Here's the stand for it, and it's just, it's just hitting there. So I'm like right next to it. So I jacked this, and what I was doing was putting the hole in the center now. Now the string line is no longer my center line, the hole is. Now I can move that string line over and do all my measurements again to see what frame is where, if this one's bent out or in or whatever. So right now I have that hole right exactly on that line. So now is what I'm going to do is I'm going to unhook all my concoction here, my makeup, and then I'm going to try to pull this frame down just a little bit, straight down, to get it even with this one. Now put a level across it. And when you put a level across something like this, you got to make sure that it is exactly straight with the other one. And I have it here. As you can see, I have it here, and straight is about right there. If you look at the bubble, it's close. It's not quite right. It's a little high here, just by a smidget. And how you can tell that is you lift that up, put the bubble in the middle, you lift that end up, and how much gap you got there is how much farther down I have to go here. So I'll pull that down. I am going to make sure this doesn't move. I'll kind of keep this set up kind of here. I'm going to take the bottle jack and I'll put it over here and I'll push it down. I'll wrap a chain around it and pull it. So it kind of like, you put a hook here over the bottle jack that's there, you jack the bottle up and it pushes the frame down. That's what I'm going to do. All right. That is my frame. Well, everything's coming together. I got the front leveled right, tacked in. This is all level through here. It's pretty close to level over here. It's just a hair off, but I'm gonna probably let that slide because it's literally maybe not even a 1/16 of an inch between the two sides. And that'll get sucked up with the pads I put on and stuff like that. Now is what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to squeeze the middle of the frame together because it was too wide. This was too wide by 5/8 of an inch, which is kind of interesting because I'm pulling it now, and now my front end, these bars here are more straight, like the print says they should be. Because now the measurement from here to here, and from here to here, and from here to there is pretty close to the same all the way. It's just a hair wider over here right now, but pretty close. And I don't mind if they're both going out just a little bit. It'll give me probably a little more engine room, but I really want this in more like it's supposed to be, because that way these will be under the cab like they're supposed to be. Right now they were like right flush to the outside. So here we go. We're taking this chain fall, and I got some chains wrapped around, and I'm pulling it. And right now I'm looking at this on the center, and it's at, I can't do this one-handed, but it's close to 14 3/4. A little bit over. My tape measure's not quite. It looks like more like, yeah, 3/4. And so then if I go this way, I'm at 15, 15 and change, almost 15 1/4. So there's still some gap there, but this dimension here is actually too narrow. I'm looking for 15 1/8, but I over pull it so that way this will relax back close to where I want to be. So I'm going to relax it. I'm not expecting it to hit the number. If it does, great. If not, I'm going to pull it again, and I'm going to come down to this bend where the frame bends right here, and I'm going to heat it right there. And that's going to relax that metal and let that come in. That's probably what I'm going to have to do, and then I'll have to do that on the other side too. But first things first is getting one locked down. When I get one locked down where I want it, then I'm going to be taking the other one and I'll pull it, but I'll pull it from the frame, the machine, so that way I can pull it right where I want it, again, heat it, and then get it to settle in so they'll both match. And then everything should be in the middle. Everything should be in the center after that. So it's looking good. It's centered all the way through the back, even on the front. So there we go. So I released it, pulled it back. It did help a little bit. I'm pulling it again, and I'm doing what I thought I was gonna do, is I heated this up cherry red, went all the way down the side there. Same with that side there, over there. I went down as far as I could here without my bracket, but if you notice, my bracket's only welded on one side because I had a feeling I was gonna need to pull this, so I never welded it over here. So it should flex right through this bend like it's supposed to. And that's the same with the other side. So I gotta let that really cool completely before I release, and then we'll see where it's at. So I've been working on the frame. I finally got it. It's all welded down all the way around. The hole is directly in the center, all the way back. I had squeezed the middle here. As you can see, my heat marks here and there, those are the natural bends of the frame. So I pulled this together. So that should be closer to correct now. It's in the middle, it's in the center now too, where it was off by quite a bit before. The height now is correct, both left and right. Here's you can kind of see that bubble or not. The whole nose had to be moved over this way, and I did. So that's all moved over, that's lowered, that's squeezed together, and everything is straight. So that's where it's nailed down right now. that'll be the end of this video, this long-winded video. But I just kind of wanted to show I got it buttoned up. I'm going to continue doing some measurements to confirm everything. I've done some already, and we'll see just to make sure where I'm going to go, and then I'll be putting the cab back on. So there you go.